When magical children in Britain turn 11 years old, a friendly little owl delivers them a letter from Hogwarts where they go to learn witchcraft and wizardry. When magical children in Borca come of age, they're taken away from their parents and stuffed into the basement of a mansion for 7 years where they fight to survive while being taught to be ruthless schemers and killers. And, sometimes they learn magic too. Hello and welcome back to Lunch Break Heroes. Today we're going to be fleshing out Scholomance, a dark wizard academy, and the shadowy cabal that's at its head. Although Scholomance is native to the dread domain of Borca in the Ravenloft campaign setting, you can drop this dark mirror of Hogwarts into any setting you want without skipping a beat. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you everything that you need to build this setting out for your players. I'll be detailing Scholomance's locations, the students and staff, and the intrigues in which your party can become embroiled. If you want your party to run through Scholomance but you don't want to watch this video over and over and over again, head on over to our Patreon where you can download our guide to Scholomance for as little as $1. For another $1, you get the full color version of it that is absolutely gorgeous and features custom maps by DM Andy himself. Above ground, Scholomance is a mansion surrounded by verdant topiaries, wide lawns, and cobblestone paths. A tall hedge borders the property in the shape of a 5-pointed star. The grounds in the manor are staffed by commoners called custodians who take care of the daily needs of the manor. Those that don't actually live in the manor itself live in a collection of hovels that are tucked away at the edge of the property. Just behind the manor house is a mist-enshrouded garden filled with spider webs of lamp-lit paths. This is the night garden where all manner of foul plants and reagents are grown. At its entrance stands a stone monolith, which is inscribed with the names of all the students and staff who died at the school. This is the Monument to Failure. Beneath it, and revealable only upon a special command word, is a mausoleum filled with the remains of all those failures. Or, at least those that could be scraped off the walls. Below ground, hidden beneath the manor, is the academy proper. These dark halls have been painstakingly carved into the bedrock by generations of custodians. Scholomance is a prestigious school of magic that only accepts budding mages who are the best of the best and who come from influential families. It's not even close to being a meritocracy, since the school is as much about magical training as it is about consolidating power for its alumni. Any student chosen to attend goes down into the Warrens and stays there for 7 years without being able to come up and see sunlight. The school only accepts a single class at a time composed of 10 students, and not all of them are guaranteed to graduate. Those that don't graduate don't get to leave at all. They die, often in very horrific ways. Those that do graduate are initiated into the Rainmaker Society, a shadowy group that has a lot of political sway in Borca. At the head of this Rainmaker Society is the Solomanari, an arch-wizard who is said to have power over a being that slumbers farther underneath the manor than even the academy. So if you're like me, you sometimes have a bit of trouble coming up with ideas sometimes. The ideas just won't come out and you're left staring at a blank page. I really hate these blocks in the creative process, and so I came up with a way to get around them. This is the Deck of Many Quests. It is a box of 200 cards that can create over 200,000 unique adventures. Whenever I'm stuck, I draw a random quest prompt, read it over, draw the number of creature and item cards it calls for, and I put them all together with a little bit of imagination. At the end of it, I get a completely new adventure that's entirely unique and all my own. Now, if you want your own copy of the Deck of Many Quests, you can pick it up over at lunchbreakheroes.com using the link down in the description below. Alright, with that little self-plug out of the way, let's get back on the subject. Now that we've covered what Scholomance is at a high level, let's take a look at the sorts of NPCs that you're going to find there. First off, there's the staff members. Currently, there are only 3, and only 2 of them are alive. First up is the leader of the academy, Varmala. They say that the devil himself presides over Scholomance, and that's not really all that far from the truth. A Rakshasa has taken the place of the real Varmala, who is trapped inside of a mirror in his own bedchambers. This imposter is cruel and sadistic, and loves to start crap between students. When he isn't making life miserable for everyone at the academy, he's searching for ways to escape Borca and return to his infernal home. Next up is the Dean of Discipline, Narcissa Lembruck. She's callous, she's mean, and she refuses to die. After she was murdered by a former apprentice, Narcissa came back as a wraith and continued to do her job at Scholomance. Except this time, she isn't distracted by pesky things like sleeping and eating. Lastly is Prabuska Windishman, an old battle axe who has her eyes on becoming the next Solomonari. For years, she's been training her own little army of mages at her private estate, and now she's come to Scholomance to schmooze and sabotage her way to the top. And if that doesn't work, she's got backup. Next up, we have the students. There's only 4 of them left out of the original 10, and they've got 2 years of schooling left to go. Morning Lord knows how many will actually make it to the finish line alive. First up on the student roster is Casper Pretorius. This guy is a powder keg who has displayed tremendous power ever since before he could walk. His temper tantrums are legendary, and one of them is single-handedly responsible for the ash gardens at the Pretorius estate, but shh, don't tell anybody. He's also got a bit of an infatuation with another student, Edith Goldpetals, who he thinks is his salvation. But we all know that that's not exactly a healthy outlook on relationships, and I'll give you 2 guesses as to how that's all gonna work out in the end. Speaking of Edith, she's the current class's most promising student. This woman's got a mountain of problems, starting with the fact that she isn't even from Borca. Originally from another realm, she was swallowed up by the mists of Ravenloft and dropped into Barovia along with some other adventurers. She eventually betrayed her party and was swallowed up by the mists again for, doing all that crap, and then she was tossed into Borca, where she gained the attention of Ivana Baritzi. Ivana eventually became infatuated with her and sponsored her admission into Scholomance. Edith still thinks she's a good person despite all that she's done to survive, and wants to get the heck out of Borca. But Varmala isn't going to let this promising student go without a fight. Our next student is Sabine Schreiner, a spoiled brat with a silver spoon in her mouth, a stick up her butt, and a blade behind her back. When she was young, she murdered her own parents for being just too plain and uninspiring, and she was then raised by her more affluent and grandiose grandparents. She thinks she's above everybody else and plots to destroy anyone who she thinks has slighted her in even the smallest way. Last up is Vaclav Noborskov, the Cambion love child of a warlock and an incubus who really just wants to be left alone. This guy's wound tighter than a $2 watch. He jumps at every shadow and is panicked by the most minor of inconveniences. It might have something to do with the fact that his infernal father spies on him through the mirror in his bedroom. Either way, he wants nothing to do with Scholomance, but family, duty, and a whole heap of mental pressure keep him on the straight and narrow. Next up, we have the mostly unwilling staff members of Scholomance, the Custodians. Some of these people were born on the grounds and others were shipped in from one place or another. None of them can leave, however, knowing that to cross the mountain pass towards civilization would mean certain death. They would surely be attacked by the Night Swarm, a flock of bloodthirsty bats so big it can blot out the moon on a clear night. First up for the Custodians is the head butler, Stephen Orndorff. Mr. Orndorff is an avid hunter in his spare time, and he's the only custodian that's allowed to leave the grounds of Scholomance. He's snooty, he's uptight, and he is completely loyal to his owners, his employers. He secretly conducts searches of other custodians' belongings, and he rats them out if they so much as put a toe out of line. Nobody likes him. Serves a mean cup of tea, though. Next, we have Joachim Eisner. Joachim is the latest in a long line of groundskeepers who never seem to live to retirement age. But Joachim has a plan, or at least a dream of a plan. He wants to see his people freed from the yoke of their oppressors and finally be able to leave Scholomance. In order to do that, he's got to find a way to get around the head butler, escape the grounds, and make sure everybody survives the trip across the mountain. But first, he wants to lift the curse on our next 2 custodians, Conrad and Luca Rott. Conrad and Luca Rott are fraternal twins, or they used to be. Now, thanks to a sadistic experiment by Sabine Schreiner, they're conjoined twins. They share a single monstrous body with 2 heads, and they have the stat block of a medium-sized Etten. Although Conrad soldiers on as best as he can, the transformation drove Luca completely insane. The two of them are kept down in the bowels of the academy to be used as physical labor and as an example to what might happen to other custodians who disobey orders. Now, with the stage of Scholomance set, you might be wondering why your party would be at the school in the first place. What hooks might draw them into this dark wizarding academy? Well, here are a few ideas for you. You've been hired by a shady alchemist over in Levkarest to acquire some rare ingredients that can only be found in the Night Garden. However, he warns you that this isn't going to be as simple as walking in, taking a clipping, and walking back out. As you're wandering the Borcan countryside, a disheveled peasant runs up to you, covered in scratches and dirt and blood, and begs for your assistance in liberating his people from the evil mages of Scholomance. An old letter written by Edith Goldpells has come into your possession, where she's asked for help escaping this realm. It's led you back to the school, but is she the same person as she was back when she wrote it? You've been contracted to assassinate the head of Scholomance, Varmala. You're not sure who put out the contract, but spoiler, it was totally Borca. No matter what brings your party to Scholomance in the first place, I guarantee stuff's gonna go down once the party is there. There are a few special events that can take place at Scholomance while your party is within the academy. If Joachim doesn't manage to break the curse on the Rot twins before the next full moon, Conrad takes his own life. This leaves the monstrous body in full control of Luca, who goes on an absolute rampage. He takes down 4 other custodians and who knows how many party members before finally being put down by Varmala. Deep underneath the warrens of the academy slumbers a sleeping shadow dragon. This is Vathranir, the prophesied mount of the Solomonari, who will ride this harbinger of ruin during Borca's final days. Vathranir stirs in her sleep, leading the Rainmaker Society to believe that their time is nigh. The Solomonari shows up at the school and descends into its depths to claim his power. Unfortunately for him, Vathranir's just having a bad dream or perhaps some indigestion and annihilates the Solomonari with necrotic energy. Without a leader, the Rainmaker Society and Borca as a whole is plunged into turmoil as every wizard worth his salt vies for power. Blood and spells fly and many innocents die. Can your party do anything to stem the chaos? I hope you guys have fun in Scholomance, and be sure to head on over to Patreon to get all of this information in a far more portable format that's a lot nicer to look at than little old me. I mean, goodness, just look at these maps that Andy worked up for you all.